Hey YouTubers and YouTubies, I'm at home. I've been home since last night around 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m. It was more like 9:30, quarter to 10 p.m. Not because that's when I got out of the hospital, but because my husband and my son were doing things in the house to prepare the house for me, like cleaning up a little bit and maneuvering some furniture around, and I didn't want to be in the way. So I spent some time over at one of my best friend's house here in Oklahoma and waited for him and my son to get back from Boy Scouts to come and pick me up. She had made them dinner because she knows I don't cook, and I was coming out of the hospital, so I wasn't about to be cooking anyway, even if I did cook. So she made them some enchiladas, and they really enjoyed that, and I thank her very much for that because they were very satisfied. I wanted to tell you about my hospital stay. I went in at early, and they were all confused about why I was in there so early. And I said, because I'm ready. I don't have any reason to sit at the house for 30 extra minutes waiting. So they went ahead and took me back into the pre-op area and had me change into a gown and take everything off. And I just waited there, had my cap on. I did my pre-op video for you all. That's where that was in there. Before I did that, my pre-surgery weight was 286.1. That's kind of neat because it was a drop of about 5 pounds with that liquid diet that I was on. So I met the anesthesiologist. He came back there and introduced himself. I don't remember his name. Nice man. And then I met Red, who was another guy, an assistant anesthesia. I don't really know who he was, but the floor staff knew who he was. Anyway, he came in and he said he had some stuff in a syringe for me that would relax me and make me feel good. And he put it in my syringe and wheeled me off. And as he wheeled me off, I said to my family that I'd be back, and my husband said, "You'd better be." And that's the last thing that I remember. I remember the next thing, waking up with Bono singing in my head. And if you don't know who Bono is, he's a lead singer for U2. And he's my favorite. That's my favorite band. So he was singing in my head as I woke up. And there was a nurse attendant sitting right next to me, monitoring my vital signs that were sitting right to my left shoulder on a thing that was beeping. And I was very groggy. It was extremely hard for me to keep my eyes open. I was wide awake, though, but it was really hard for me to keep my eyes open. I wanted to keep them shut. As I was alert enough, then they took me on that bed that I was on upstairs to my private room where my family was waiting for me. I pretty much got to stay in the bed that whole day. I'm trying to think if they made me get up that night. I think they did make me get up and sit in the seat and breathe in my spirometer for them, which hurt really, really bad. I'm not gonna lie. It hurt. Mainly my pain felt like what I'd imagine having a stab wound would feel like. I mean, I could tell there was a cut there, and that pushing on that cut was opening that cut. You know, if I breathed in or out, it would open up the cut, which was taped over and padded, and I could feel that pressure alone, and it stung like alcohol being poured on it all the time if I breathed. So it was not fun. Underneath the cut, I could feel what feels like my muscle is sore there, like somebody punched me in the stomach or kicked me there. It's not fun. This is not a fun thing to deal with, but the rewards are outlasting if you're one of the successful patients. They left me alone pretty much in there. They did their checks on me all night through that night. That night was rough. I think every 2 hours I came in and Did a blood prick for my sugars, which they do an insulin injection and a blood prick for every patient, whether they're diabetic or not, because they want to check to make sure the sugars aren't out of control. Because if you're not a diabetic and your sugars get a little high, they have to monitor that to make sure that you don't go into a comatose state. And if you are diabetic, it's the same thing. They want to make sure that you don't go into a comatose state. But they understand that diabetes, there's certain levels there. So they pricked my finger a lot. They drew blood a lot. They did a blood pressure cuff on me about every 2 hours, and my blood pressure was kind of high if I moved around a lot, and then they come walking in right behind that, my blood pressure would be really, really high because of the activity alone. I had to breathe in that spirometer a lot, which really, I hated doing that. I really hated doing that, but I did it. I did it religiously. I even had myself on a timer. I had brought my own timer and had that set for every 2 hours while I was awake. The next day, they encouraged me to walk, and I walked as far as I could, which was probably 4 doors, 4 patient rooms, which were sizable rooms. They were about the size of a small hotel room, bigger than a motel room. I'd walk about 4 of those to the front desk area, and I walked back. And that was all I could do. I couldn't do any more. I was worn out. I was breathing hard. It was tough. I was hunched over. I felt like my guts were going to pour out of my belly, but I did it. So as I sat in a chair after that for the day, and as the day progressed, I would walk a little bit as I felt better, or I felt anxious, or I felt like I needed to progress on my own. I would get up and I'd walk, and that's key. I think that you need to remember that if you want to be successful, you're going to have to exceed the doctor's expectations. So if he says breathe in a spirometer 3 or 4 times a day and do it every 2 hours, then do it every hour 4 or 5 times or 6 times or 10 times. If he says, I only need you to walk 3 times before you can leave the hospital, walk 7 times, walk 10 times, walk 15 times, so that he knows that you're serious, so that you know that you're serious. It makes a difference. So I walked as much as I could, which was, I think, about 7 times that day, up and down the halls. I'd go all the way. I made it a point to go all the way to the one end, which was an entire floor length from my door. My door's right at the elevator with a little bitty ramp that went down. It wasn't very long down, but the other way was the long way past the desk to the window on the other side, and I made it a point to get to the window, and I'd rest for a minute, turn around, and do that walk all the way back. Roughly 4 house lengths. I'd say that was probably 4 house lengths. Walking a sidewalk in front of 4 houses. So that was 3 or 4. That was probably right. 3 or 4. No, probably 4. So I'd do that. And they let me rest pretty much that night. I really didn't have any issues resting until I got a phone call in the middle of the night from one of my friends who was checking up on me and wanted to see how I was doing. It was pretty inconvenient timing. I was really sleeping well, had been not sleeping well prior to that, and it was really difficult afterwards to sleep again. But I managed to get a few shut-eyes in after the phone call. I got up the next day, and they were talking to me about being released and running over. Sorry, I was still tired. Running over some details with me about my release and what I needed to do. And oh, I had to do a Lovenox shot. I wanted to show you that too. Lovenox. If you get Lovenox, is a shot that you're going to take to make sure that you don't have any blood clots while you're at home and you're in a reclining or laying down position and not mobile. You have to give yourself the shot, or somebody has to give it to you. I gave it to myself. So I did that. I was so tired I didn't care. I was so worn out from them pricking me and poking me and drawing blood and doing a blood cuff and checking my temperature and everything that I was like, okay, here, hand it to me. I'll just do it. And I did it. The next day, which is the day that I got released, they were running over paperwork with me, and I had walked 9 times. 10 times because I had actually walked myself out the door instead of being wheeled out. I know that hospitals like you to be wheeled out, but on a bariatric unit, I think it would be advisable if they just had an attendant wheel you out. I mean, attendant walk you out, because you have to walk. You need to walk. So I walked. I walked out. Got the guy in trouble. Sorry, whoever you were, but I got the guy in trouble for walking out and not allowing him to wheel me out. I wanted to progress. I didn't want to allow myself to get lazy and fall back into any bad habits and patterns. So I took that option on my own, and I'm sure he still has his job. He just got chided to by the floor manager. The drive home, I'm going to recommend you probably want to take a pillow with you, because I don't believe I've ever felt as bumpy a road as I ever did since I've had the surgery. Husband would drive over tiny little bumps, and they aggravated this sore on the side of my belly. It hurt. It really hurt. Went off and did some stuff with, well, I stayed over at my best friend here in Oklahoma's house until my husband and my son got out from Scouts. She had made them dinner, and then I went home again on another bumpy ride. Last night, the reason why I just yawned is because it was really, really hard to sleep here at the house. My bed is not as comfortable as that hospital bed. That hospital bed was wonderful. It was a nice bed. I really had great service at the hospital, I'm not lying. I have no complaints. I have no gas issues that are severe. I have been able to tolerate the broth, chicken and beef, tea, decaffeinated coffee, Jello and orange and cherry, Crystal Light lemon flavor, green tea flavoring, Crystal Light flavoring green tea, kind of, you know, the stuff you add to your water. Been able to tolerate that. I had a full container, a little one, a single serving of yogurt last night. That's what I had for dinner from my best friend's house. And today I'm working on my protein shake, and I've had this since 7, and husband made it for me. It was 8 ounces. I've taken 2 swallows so far. It still sits at 8 ounces. It's going to take a while for me to get that all down. One of the reasons it's hard for me to get it all down right now is because there's a lot of air bubbles in it, and when I'm drinking it, I feel them. They're not severe, but they are a pressure, and that makes a difference when you're doing anything. I don't burp, I don't fart or anything, but I feel that pressure inside my belly. I took a shower while I was at the hospital, which was nice. I'll be doing that again today here because my hair is all greasy and dirty, and I don't like it like that. Mary, if you ask, that's what that is. It's greasy hair. It's not wet. It's just dirty. It needs to be cleaned. Overall, I'm going to have to say that my experience was a good one. I'm recovering well and speedily, and I want to thank everybody who prayed for me and thought about me and sent their well wishes my way for me and my family, because I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderfully. I don't know how much weight I've lost. Ow, thing hurts. Sorry. I don't know how much weight I've lost because I didn't weigh myself when I left the hospital. I didn't see any scale there to actually weigh myself as I was leaving. I would have if I'd seen it, but I know that prior to surgery I was 286.1. So I have a follow-up with the doctor in 2 weeks, and I intend to do weekly updates on my anniversary of every Monday. I'll be doing the weekly update. So be looking for those. I just wanted to let you know that you can do this. You can do this. This is possible. It's going to be life-changing. It's a tool, not a cure, so you have to do your part in the recovery and in the surgery and beyond that for your lifestyle afterwards if you want to be a success at weight loss with any bariatric surgery. Beyond that, folks, I about ready to let it go. I had a ton of comments. I want to thank everybody for commenting me. I had over 400 emails in my personal email and about 100 emails on my Gmail account for the YouTube channel that I have. I want to thank you all for commenting and subscribing. I got a ton of new subscribers too. Thank you for subscribing and being so diligent and watching and keeping up with me. And thank you for your prayers and thoughts and concerns as well. Y'all have a great day. Bye.